What's up, tribe? Nick here, and today I'm going to cover the first of 5 videos on a food awareness series. So some people think it's weird that TFC covers food as one of the topics we cover. And we started with feet as a way to understand the body and kind of embark on a learning journey. But we look at all 5 pillars of health, and a big one of those 5 pillars is food. So today we're going to talk about food, and we're not going to talk about nutrition. I'm not a food scientist or a nutritionist, and I doubt you are either, but we're both humans and we're both eaters, and we both have to eat food, and we eat food on a regular basis. And in fact, food plays a really big part in our health, right? It's a really big part of lifestyle. And so today we're going to introduce the topic and hopefully give you a broad understanding of why food is so important, can be really complicated, but can also be really simple. And the things that you and I need to know to do 80% of the right stuff, which is what's required for health, is really simple. So probably a good way to introduce the topic of food is the 7 words that Michael Pollan wrote in his, I think it was a journal article or a newspaper article, but also in his book, In Defense of Food. And those 7 words are: eat food, not too much, mostly plants. And so let's start by breaking those down. And the first 2, eat food, might seem a bit strange because of course you're going to eat food. What else could you eat? And it turns out that there's a lot of non-food stuff today, and when you go into a supermarket, that you can buy and eat and mistake as food. And food used to be really simple, right? As when we were hunter-gatherers, the environment provided for us. We went out and we hunted animals for meat. We gathered plants to eat as well. We prepared it. It was very simple, right? As long as you didn't poison yourself, it was pretty simple. You couldn't really mess it up as long as you could obtain food. But the landscape today is very, very different. And there's a lot of confusion with food. Food science is a very young discipline, and every single month there seems to be a new nutrient of the month that you should be trying to consume and one that you should be trying to avoid. And they change their mind a lot. But the base principles, the base fundamentals of food really haven't changed. So one of the things we're going to talk about in video number 2 is comparing food and food-like products. Right? A fresh loaf of sourdough has about 4 ingredients. That's real food. A loaf of Wonder Bread has about 41 ingredients. 3 of those ingredients are forms of sugar: high fructose corn syrup, sucrose, and sugar. There's also sodium sterolactylate, ammonium sulfate. There's weird ingredients in there. And so those 41 Wonder Bread ingredients versus the 4 fresh loaf of sourdough ingredients, that's a really good illustration of food versus a food-like product. And knowing the difference between the 2 is a very important part of being able to navigate the modern food landscape and make good food decisions, because that's really what we're trying to do. And with food, it's not about being perfect. It's just about eating real food. So eat food, not too much. Anything, even good stuff, in too big of a quantity can be harmful. And the same thing applies with food. So one thing we're going to talk about is reconnecting with these mechanisms in our body that tell us when we should start eating and stop eating. And even talk about the value of going times in a day without food, right? We call that fasting, but basically anytime you're not eating, you're fasting, right? When you sleep, it's a big period of fasting. That's why we call breakfast break fast, because you're breaking your fast that you did overnight. So eat food, not food-like products. You can eat a bit of food-like products, and when you do, enjoy them, but make sure it's not the bulk of what you eat. Not too much. You should spend time without eating, and you should also reconnect with these internal mechanisms telling you when to stop eating. And then mostly plants is the last part. And it's not that meat is bad. We're supposed to eat meat. Our bodies are adapted to eat it, and we can. I think we should probably eat a lot less meat than we do and focus more on obtaining high quality, ethically raised meat. But that's really your personal, that's up to you personally, whether you eat meat or not and what kind of meat you eat. But we should be mostly eating plants, because plants are really important. They have a bunch of different micronutrients that are important for our bodies to be able to do the processes that it's supposed to do. And so our average day worth of food that we consume should be mostly plants. And I think that gives a good introduction. Eat food, not too much, mostly plants. That's a really good way as a general framework. And in future videos, we're going to cover things like food versus food-like products, reconnecting with internal food, with internal hunger and satiety, which means feeling full mechanisms. We're going to talk about principles, right? General overarching principles that you can put into action when you go and buy food. We're going to talk about examples of food rules. So examples like don't fuel your body where you fuel your car, because gas stations don't contain food. They contain food-like products. Cook your food. Try and cook as much of your food as you can. So general rule, don't eat food in your car. These are rules that I ascribe to. Not that you have to, but they can be helpful. So we're going to cover a bunch of these things in the other 4 videos. Thanks for listening. I hope that gives you a good introduction when it comes to food, and that you're excited in learning the basics of what an average human eater needs to know to make healthy food choices. Thanks for watching.